A former sixth grade teacher was arrested last month for allegedly using AI to create child sexual abuse material. And now the school is reportedly suspending operations for the upcoming year, leaving families scrambling just weeks before classes begin. We're going to break down what we know so far and how this case continues to unfold. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. All right, we have an update to a disturbing story that we previously covered here on Sidebar. You remember David McGeough, the former sixth grade teacher arrested for allegedly possessing and creating child sexual abuse material using AI, artificial intelligence? Well, his case shocked many people, not just because of the nature of the charges, but because he reportedly used images of real children, possibly his own students. That's what the allegation is. That's what he is going to have to defend himself against. And the fallout now has hit even harder. Why? The private Christian school where McGeough taught, United Brethren in Christ, this is the UBIC Academy in Holly Hill, Florida, it is announced that it will suspend operations for the upcoming school year in the wake of his arrest. The decision was communicated to parents on July 2nd and has left many families now scrambling to find new schools just weeks before the fall semester begins. Now, the school hasn't said whether it plans to reopen in the future, but for now, the consequences of this case are reaching far beyond the courtroom and right into the lives of the children and the families that it was supposed to serve. Now, if you've been following this case, here's what we know so far. June 20th, 2025, 47-year-old David McGeough was arrested after a tip from the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children exposed his alleged online activities. Investigators say McGeough used AI to superimpose the faces of UBIC Academy students onto explicit images, which he then shared on Discord. This is a platform that is very popular among gamers. But the allegations don't end there, because detectives also uncovered evidence that McGeough engaged in sexual acts with a family pet and photographed these encounters. So, according to court records, McGeough now faces 19 felony counts of possessing child sexual abuse material and 6 felony counts of bestiality. Following his arrest, UBIC Academy Board Chair Don Ross posted a statement on Facebook, and he wrote, "We are shocked and deeply grieved by the serious allegations of misconduct against him. Our employment relationship with David McGeough has been terminated, and we are cooperating fully with law enforcement authorities." Now, before we go any further into this, I want to bring on Dan Shore. Why? Not only because I love having Dan Shore on, and he's a great legal analyst, but he's also a former criminal prosecutor, municipal inspector who specialized in these kinds of cases. And by the way, he has a book coming out that is very similar to this topic. Let's start there, Dan. What's your book about?
Great. Thanks, Jesse. It's always great to talk with you. My novel is called Open Bar. It comes out August 12th, and it is about child sex abuse in educational institutions. And it's based on my experience investigating and prosecuting these cases. And the best way for people to learn more is to find me on Substack. I put a lot of information there about these topics.
But have you ever covered cases like this, where you're talking about potentially AI-generated child sexual abuse materials? How do you prosecute this? Have you prosecuted this before? Is this a new area of the law?
When I was in the DA's office, AI wasn't around the way it is now. And my current work is I'm hired by schools to investigate allegations of sexual abuse of children, also employee sexual assault. But this is something new that is new to the world, that someone can take existing children and use AI to manipulate the images and make it look like certain kids are engaging in sex acts. We're seeing this more and more in other areas. It's called deep fakes, where you can now make a real person look like they are engaged in pornography, which is extremely upsetting to the person who is depicted that way. But then you add the extra layer where this is children, underage children, and a teacher, their teacher who's doing it. And this goes beyond anything I've seen when I've been an investigator. This is new technology and it's frightening.
The allegations are horrifying, but from a legal point of view, does it change? Does it change the legal severity of the charges if you're not actually having a real child engage in sexual activity or photographing them, but you're creating fake images? Does that change the legal consequences at all?
Yes, it's not as The sentence I expect would not be the same as if you had actual children engaging in sex acts when they're underage, because as horrific as it is to create fake images of real children when you're their teacher, that is terrible, but it's not the same level as actually having a real person engage in sex acts while they're underage. So we're talking about two terrible things, and one is an escalation using new technology, but it doesn't rise to the level of using actual kids in sex acts. But this is horrific enough that it's still going to lead to significant prison time if he's found guilty.
Hey everybody, this is another Law&Crime legal alert. Did you know that children are being diagnosed with serious conditions like type 2 diabetes and non-alcoholic fatty liver disease, and the research is potentially linking ultra-processed foods to these outcomes? Yeah, well, Morgan & Morgan, they're stepping in to fight to hold these food companies accountable. With decades of experience fighting large corporations, they are ready to stand up for the families who deserve justice. So if your child under 21 has been diagnosed with type 2 diabetes or fatty liver disease, then visit www.forthepeople.com/food or scan the QR code on screen to learn more. What role does the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children usually play in triggering these types of investigations? Did you have experience with them as well?
Yeah, I mean, it's a great resource. They can flag information that they've heard. People can report to them suspicions, and they may follow up with organizations or law enforcement. A lot of times, these types of cases are known about in general ways. People may see a teacher doing something they think is a little suspicious. But one problem I see in my investigations is people are very reticent to report a fellow teacher if they're not 100% sure they're doing something wrong. People are afraid of retaliation. They're afraid of being incorrect. And that's understandable because you don't want to falsely accuse someone. But it's really important for people to see warning signs and be able to safely escalate those so those can be investigated. And the center is really important for helping that happen and coordinating with law enforcement.
Do you typically see, like the allegations here, people creating material and sharing them on a platform like a Discord or something like that? And why is that the case?
Well, Discord is definitely being used more and more in cases I've seen for communication between people. People feel it's safer, and they may think there's ways to not be detected as much during Discord. So I see a lot of communication over Discord. But in terms of the general issue of your question, this is a new area. This is a new frontier of child sex abuse that is really new, using AI to find to make images of real people. This is something that couldn't have been done just a couple of years ago the way it is now. And the technology is in its infancy. So it's going to be easier and easier for people to do this type of thing. And I think you'll probably see legislatures move to make heightened criminal penalties for it now because you have to catch up with technology.
The allegations about, the sex acts with the pet, can't even believe I'm saying this. You have experience in prosecuting those kinds of cases? Are there special sentencing guidelines? I mean, the fact that we have to have charges on the books specific for this shows that this is not a one-off. This has happened before. Your experience in it, your thoughts on this?
Sure. So I had many years as a sex crimes prosecutor in New York City, and I've been investigating sexual misconduct for 2 decades. I have actually never prosecuted a bestiality case just because it's so rare. It's on the books in New York. It's illegal. It's illegal everywhere. And I could speak for the rest of my bureau in the DA's office. When I was there, we did not have any bestiality cases. We had animal abuse cases, which sexual abuse obviously is one type of abuse, but the type of cases we would sometimes see are physical abuse of animals, to be animal protection statutes. But this is so unusual. We don't see many cases in law enforcement or in other types of investigations of people actually sexually abusing their animals. This person clearly, if these reports are even close to being accurate, was highly problematic in terms of what he was engaging in between the animal sexual abuse and what he was doing with images of children.
Pretty disgusting, to say the least. And it was interesting because when we were doing the research for this, at one point I didn't know for sure if he actually is accused of engaging in sex acts with an animal or creating, AI generated content of that. And in the end, we realized that it was actually, he's accused of allegedly engaging in that. And I couldn't tell what was worse. And I mean, what was worse? I mean, the idea of creating AI-generated content featuring that or actually doing it. But, allegedly abusing an animal and recording it, obviously worse. Okay, let's talk about the school district, okay?
Yeah.
So the school decided to shut down for the upcoming academic year in the wake of all this. In your opinion, is that necessary? Is that legally necessary? Is it a precautionary move? Is it a public relations decision? I'm not surprised but obviously it's leading all these families to be scrambling. Is that a wise decision to do?
So it's not legally required. The school can still function. One thing that's really important is the school do an independent investigation into what the teacher was doing and what the school knew or should have known previously, because the reports are that he was using school time, school resources, school Wi-Fi to do all the communications involving AI generated child porn of real students. So in terms of the school closing down, they must have felt that they could not sustain having a new school year, maybe because some students were leaving, maybe because they are in disarray based on these allegations. But as you said, parents have a really tough time now finding a new school. And it's hard to see a school coming back after shutting down like that, because if all their students are going to find new schools, are they just going to then return in a year? But I would suspect that this means that there's more going on behind the scenes in terms of what the school is seeing and learning about that made them feel that they can't confidently hold school this fall, because just sex abuse by one teacher, as horrific as it is, usually does not lead to a school closing down for a year.
Just to clarify, are you saying that UBIC Academy could potentially be held liable, civilly or criminally responsible if it's found they misread flags or they failed to properly vet or monitor this teacher?
Well, just schools in general have liability if they knew or should have known that sex abuse was happening and they disregarded those warnings or didn't take proper actions. Now, if a teacher is acting on their own and there's no way the school could know about it, then the school is generally not liable for that, because you can't know what every employee is doing. But that's what you need an independent investigation for, to determine what signs should they have been aware of. Again, he was using school time, school technology. Was anyone aware of this? Were there any prior reports from anyone about suspicious activity? Did they ever speak to him about this? Was anyone monitoring what he was doing during the day? These are all questions that the school needs to ask, and they'll factor into liability. So they may be liable, they may not be, but these types of cases usually lead to civil litigation. Whether it's successful or not depends on a lot of those factors.
So ever since this scandal broke, it appears that the UBIC Facebook page has gone dark. Not even a post to announce the suspension of the school, which was first reported by the Daytona Beach News Journal. Now, according to the outlet, parents were notified of the school's impending closure on July 2nd via a note from Principal Pastor Joshua McGeough. And by the way, if you're wondering whether that shared last name is a coincidence, apparently it is not. We'll talk about that a little bit later. In the message, though, Pastor McGeough announced that UBIC Academy would suspend operations starting in August, so that's just a month from now, and the note framed the decision as a, quote, pause, seemingly for reflection. But parents are not too happy. No, one parent, Lena Peacock, spoke to the News Journal and even posted the full letter in the comments of UBIC's Academy's Facebook page, and here's what it said. Dear UBIC Academy families, thank you for being part of the UBIC Academy family. Your trust, prayers, and partnership have meant so much to us over the years, and it's because of that trust that I want to share an important and heartfelt update with you. Following a special meeting with the church leadership, and after much prayer, reflection, and discussion, we have made the very difficult decision to suspend operations of UBIC Academy. We recognize that this news may place many of our families in a difficult position, and we deeply regret the hardship this may cause. Even so, we believe this is the right time to pause and thoughtfully assess the best path forward before welcoming students back. This time will allow us to reevaluate the mission of UBIC Academy and discern the best path forward for welcoming students with care, integrity, and transparency. Please know this decision was not made in reaction or fear, but in faith and responsibility. This is a pause, not a conclusion. Although the school will not be receiving students at the start of the fall semester, our hearts remain open to what God may have in store for us. We will continue to seek His wisdom as we explore possibilities for the future, and we will keep you informed when our new path forward is clear. Though the school doors will not open for the first day of school in August, our commitment to you and our children remains. If you need assistance with records, transcripts, school recommendations, or prayer during this transition, we are here for you. We continue to trust God's timing and believe He is not finished with this story. Thank you for being part of our journey. Your families have left a lasting mark on our hearts, and we carry you with us as we move forward in faith. Now, according to the Daytona Beach News Journal, a front office worker confirmed this is currently being treated as a suspension rather than a permanent shutdown, but no other further information was provided. Dan, what's your reaction to that statement?
I think it leaves a lot of unanswered questions about why they're shutting down. Again, I've investigated many, many cases of sex abuse by teachers at schools. Schools generally do not shut down when there's an allegation against one teacher. So the question is, why are they shutting down? Is there more information they're aware of? Is it that they don't feel that they'll have enough people staying, whether employees or students, to support school this fall based on the fallout? We don't know the answers to that at this time, but certainly they're not legally required to shut down. And maybe we'll learn more in the future about why they are. I think it's going to be really tough to come back from shutting down because, again, teachers and students will find other places to go. Are they then all going to just return in a year if the school starts up again? That's very difficult for an educational institution.
Well, what additional support or obligations should the school ideally provide to affected families? You know, they talk about providing prayer and transcripts and resources. What do they need to provide or should provide?
Well, I would say certainly outreach to other schools that they maybe have a network connections with so that they can help place people, especially students with special needs who may be getting specific services at this school that need those services. And it's hard to find a place to find the correct services for students who need those services. So I think this is a tough thing. Sometimes people spend a year or more finding the right school. Now we're talking about just a matter of weeks. So hopefully the school will take the time to really reach out to their resources to assist here.
So let's take a deeper dive real quick into this case, how exactly the investigation unfolded, and then we'll talk more about the McGeough apparent family. So on June 2nd, 2025, the Holly Hill Police Department received the tip alerting them to McGeough's alleged activity. And this is when they say they discovered 19 explicit images of child sexual abuse material and 6 graphic videos showing sex acts with a family pet. Florida Attorney General James Utmeyer described the case as a complete betrayal of trust, saying, as a teacher, parents trusted Mr. McGeough to impart knowledge to their children. Instead, he spent parts of the school day sending and receiving child sex abuse material and providing other pedophiles with UBIC Academy students' personal information. What he did is beyond betrayal. It is devastating and sick. And that investigation escalated when Holly Hill police officers, FDLE cybercrime agents, and a digital detection canine named Ruby executed a search warrant at his residence. And authorities seized multiple devices, uncovered what they called overwhelming evidence of exploitation. And the release from the AG's office reads, law enforcement believes he utilized artificial intelligence technology to create child sexual abuse material with real children, some of whom may have attended UBIC Academy. Initial search warrants revealed that McGeough was disseminating, downloading, and communicating with users on Discord, a popular group chat service, during school hours and while connected to the UBIC Academy Wi-Fi. Now, he was arrested the same day, and we're talking about it now. Dan, to have multiple agencies be a part of this and each have a specific role about trying to collect evidence, what did you take away from that?
I think that this is not the end of the people who might be arrested here. Because
Right.
multiple agencies show that they're canvassing. He's sending these images to people. Who is he sending them to? And what are they
Called
doing
them
with those?
pedophiles. He called them pedophiles that he was sending them to, or allegedly sent them
Right.
to.
Right. So have those people been identified? Sometimes on Discord, people can use screen names. They can hide their identity. So I think you need expert cyber expertise in law enforcement to figure out who's behind some of these other platforms that might have been used to share images. We know he's sharing them. It's also the fact that he's recording himself, including the bestiality, shows that he felt really emboldened to continue doing this. To me, that says that someone's been doing this for a while, because what I see with sex abuse or sexual misconduct is that usually people escalate their behavior over time. So if he's already at the point where he's making AI generated images of actual students and having sex with animals and recording it, that shows a real level of being emboldened, feeling you're going to get away with it, sharing it on school Wi-Fi during school time. So again, that tells me this has been going on for a while. And I think you want law enforcement, and here you have multiple agencies really digging in deep to see how long has this been going on, or how has he been communicating with people, and who has he been communicating with?
What's a possible defense? Or is this just a case he's got to plead guilty and try to avoid, I don't know, decades in prison? I don't even know what the sentencing range would be for something like this. But is the idea to plead guilty, try to lessen it, or what could be a defense?
If the materials law enforcement says that they have are real, then there's really not much of a defense, because the mere possession of child sex abuse material, AI generated, born with real students. Also, he's accused of sharing the actual identity of students in his school with other people, and then the recording of animal sex abuse videos. So if that's all accurate, that they found all that, I don't see much of a defense. The only defense
Well,
you could say is that it's not real.
would it be possible someone placed it on his device or was
Right.
manipulating the data to suggest he was looking at this? Although I imagine that's quite tough to prove.
Right. Obviously, he doesn't have a burden. The government has to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. But if they found it on his devices, if they've shown that his account has been logging on to school Wi Fi during school time, it's his Discord account sending this information, if it's on his computer, if the images with the animals actually show him, not just a body part that you might not be able to identify as his, but it actually shows his face or his body, then it's hard for him to say these are not real. In a case like this, usually you're talking about trying to get the best plea bargain, best sentence for your client if you're an attorney. And the other part of it is maybe there are other people involved. We were just talking about that. So maybe he can cooperate with the government to talk about other people involved in trafficking children or spreading child porn, and maybe he'll get a reduced sentence based on his cooperation. That's another thing that his lawyer is probably going to look to do.
So when we noted before that the principal, Joshua McGeough, shares the same last name with the accused, David McGeough, it seemed, like it might be just a coincidence. But here's the thing. Our investigation revealed that there is an apparent, much deeper connection. And it's one that suggests the McGeough family essentially was an integral part, maybe even controlled, both UBIC Academy and its affiliated church. Now, there's limited reporting on this, but this is what the reporting suggests. This is according to reporting, let's say, from the Roy's Report. It's a Christian media outlet. And it says that the United Brethren in Christ institutions operate as something of a family enterprise. The school's website clearly lists Joshua McGeough as both principal and administrator. There is a Caleb, a Bree, a Vicky, and a Julie McGeough. And apparently, on the church's Facebook, Matt McGeough is reportedly listed as a lead pastor. Now, Roy's report says that Matt and Joshua are brothers to David. And according to the ministry report and the Roy's report, the church ran a series on their YouTube channel called In the Cave with Matt and Dave. And in one 2019 video, which now looks to have been privated, Matt refers to Joshua as both their brother and the school's principal. And the Roy's report says it reached out to the UBIC Academy to try and confirm the extent of the McGeough family's involvement in the institutions, but didn't receive a response prior to publishing this article. Now, Dan, to be clear, there's nothing nefarious about this. There's nothing strange about this. But you do wonder, in situations where leadership is so closely intertwined and you're dealing with these allegations, what should the family or the parent family be thinking about?
Well, first of all, this might help explain why the school is closing this year, because if this is a member of a family that is running the school, that family is surely devastated. To have a family member commit all these acts in an institution that I'm sure was beloved to them and to harm the students that were in their school, then I could see why they might not just personally want to continue with the school this fall. But in terms of this, the family, this is another reason why you need an independent investigation to find out what they knew, they were aware of. Are there any signs that they had warning signs and they ignored them? Or maybe an independent investigation can clear the rest of the family and show that he was a lone actor. But the fact that he was a family member shows that he was probably in a position of trust, and maybe that helped him get away with more misconduct at the school without being detected because people trusted him.
And they have to, I think, from a legal point of view and PR point of view, to say, hey, we're taking this seriously. We're conducting an independent investigation. We're not brushing this under the rug. We want to find out exactly what happened, because obviously people might assume that the family or the perceived family knew something about this, had a role in this, which there's no evidence to suggest. But from an optics point of view, it is important to say, we need to do an investigation here. We need to take time, and we need to rebuild trust in the community that whatever he's accused of is not representative of our family.
Absolutely. And hopefully there's someone who was at the school who people could have reported misconduct to that wasn't just his family member. And if there were those reports, hopefully they were documented. There's a lot of unknown here, but the fact that this seemingly was going on for a while shows that he had a lot of freedom to do what he wanted to on school time, to engage in all this conduct, to use the school Wi-Fi, use school computer resources. So maybe that freedom was because he was trusted as a family member. Maybe it's for some other reason, but these are questions that need to be learned. I'm sure law enforcement's looking into it, and probably there'll be an independent investigation, which most schools do at this time.
Now, he remains jailed on a $1.25 million bond, and meanwhile, UBIC Academy's future hangs in the balance as investigators continue reviewing electronic devices for additional evidence. That seems to be what they're doing behind the scenes, and for now, the families, they're left navigating a fractured system. As this legal case unfolds, the scandal underscores just a chilling reality, and that is the intersection of technology and exploitation. It has reached classrooms, and who knows what this means for the future, but we will make sure to cover it here on Sidebar. Dan Short, thank you so much for taking the time. Really, really appreciate it. And good luck with the release of your book.
Thanks so much, Jesse. It's always great talking with you.
And that's all we have for you right now here on Sidebar. Everybody, thank you so much for joining us. And as always, please subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. I'll speak to you next time.